I would like to ask you about what is your favorite sporting moment? So since Atlanta until now, you've been to so many places, met maybe sporting heroes of yours or some something special. Maybe you already told some friends about it. You have a favorite one, or
I
what would
have a
you say?
favorite. I have a an Olympic hero, um, and his games were far before when I was alive. My Olympic hero, in the story I would tell, and I tell everybody, if you want to know what the Olympics about, you need to learn this story. My hero is Jesse Owens, and Jesse Owens participated in the 1936 games in Nazi Germany. And Jesse Owens was a black man. And a black man in 1936 in America was subject to terrible things. Racism was still rampant. Segregation was rampant. He couldn't even though he was a member of the Olympic team, he couldn't stay in the same hotels as the white athletes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But Jesse decided he was going to compete. He was the world's greatest 100-meter sprinter, fastest man in the world. So he goes to Nazi Germany to compete. And the regime, the Hitler regime, indoctrinated the entire Olympic team, German Olympic team, into the party right before the game. So they all had their uniforms had a swastika on the front, the Nazi swastika. And Hitler told them, "You will win at all costs," threatening them, "and you will win against people of color, especially, at all costs." Those games were quite nationalistic. Those in the 2008 games in Beijing were very nationalistic, but not for racial reasons, but for national pride reasons. But so Jesse goes, and Jesse was also a very good long jumper. Maybe not the world's best. The world's best long jumper was a guy named Lutz Long, Luzlong, Lutz Long. And Lutz was going to win the gold medal. He had to win the gold medal. And Lutz was a tall, blonde, Aryan German kid. And on the day of the preliminaries, Jesse Owens was doing his run through. He didn't actually know he was in the live preliminaries, so he still had his warm-up pants on. And he went walking down the track, and he stepped into the sand pit, and he heard the horn. Ah, that was your first attempt. You only have 3. He didn't even know. So he goes back, takes off his warm-up pants, goes running down the track, leaps, and he fouls. His foot goes past the white line. Second attempt. Lutz Long is watching this. The man who not only is supposed to win the medal, but he's supposed to beat anybody that's black or brown or Asian or any other color but him. Look like me, white. Lutz Long goes over to Jesse Owens, and he said, you're a great athlete. Let me show you what we do when we're in practice, when we're practicing, so that we do not step over the white line. So Lutz Long takes a towel from around his neck. He walks to the end of the long jump track, places the towel a few centimeters behind the white line, and he says, "Jesse, go ahead and do it. Run and jump from my towel." So Jesse takes off on his third and final attempt to get into the finals, leaps, doesn't foul, makes it into the finals. That's a great story. But it gets better. The next day is the finals. It's down to 2 jumpers. Lutz Long is kind of almost already won, but there's 1 jumper left. Who do you think that is? It's Jesse Owens. So Jesse runs down the track. He leaps. I don't know if you've ever been to Olympic Stadium in Berlin. It's still there. It's beautiful. It's a giant Roman-looking thing. And if you read the written accounts of the day, by the way, the German public loved Jesse Owens. They loved our black athletes, and much to the chagrin of the Nazis. So Jesse Owens goes up in the air, and it's 80,000 people took a breath. It was just silence. And this films of this. You can see him going through the air, and he lands. And they measure it right there, and he wins the gold medal, not Lutz Long. Lutz Long comes racing across the track in front of Hitler, Goering, Goebbels. All of the terrible Nazis are watching this. Lutz Long jumps into the sand pit, picks up Jesse, helps him brush off, and he says, "That's magnificent," something to that effect. "You're the greatest athlete ever." They link arms, put their arms around each other's shoulders, and they walk off the field of play. It's one of the most phenomenal moments in Olympic history that exists because of what was happening politically. And Jesse Owens said that friendship that I made that day with him was more worth than anything he'd ever won in his life. They became friends. Sadly, 9 years later, Lutz Long was killed in the Battle of the Bulge, fighting for the Nazi army, the German army. He asked Jesse Owens to look after his son, which he did. And Jesse Owens came back to America a hero. But he also came back to America where he couldn't even stay in the hotels that his white teammates did. He never complained. He never made it an issue. He was proud to support his country. But that story between Lutz Long and Jesse Owens is the most magnificent example of Olympism that I've read about. I certainly wasn't there. But to me, that's what it's about.